This is Aaron Dickinson, assistant coach for the Sunderland Spartans, and you're listening to Gridiron UK.
Now,
Hello Gridiron UK fans, once again it's me, Harry Waring, alongside head analyst David Richardson, bringing you all the latest news from the Gridiron, both in the NFL and the British game.
And speaking of the British game, it's a huge week for American football in the UK, as once again the NFL grace our national stadium this Sunday, as the San Francisco 49ers and Denver Broncos clash at Wembley.
This podcast will be a special preview of those matches, as well as all your usual Gridiron UK features, so as we do every week, here is your NFL roundup.
Yeah, it was an extremely high scoring week in the NFL this week, with many of the teams reaching 30 points. We start in a game where both teams managed that, as the Atlanta Falcons took on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Falcons took this one 39-32, with wide receiver Roddy White having a special day, 201 yards and 2 scores. The Pittsburgh Steelers controversially beat the Miami Dolphins in Florida by a point, 23-22. After a Ben Roethlisberger touchdown was ruled out as a fumble, the Steelers kicked the winning field goal on the next play. Billy Cundiff kicked a 38-yard game-winning kick in overtime as the Baltimore Ravens squeezed past a much-improved Buffalo Bills 37-34.
Derek Johnson returned an interception for a score, and Matt Castle threw 2 touchdown passes to Dwayne Bowe, leading the Chiefs to a 42-20 victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars. David Bowens returned 2 of Drew Brees' 4 interceptions for touchdowns as the Cleveland Browns took a stunning 30-17 victory over the defending Super Bowl champions, the New Orleans Saints. D'Angelo Hall tied an NFL single-game record with 4 interceptions, running one back for 92 yards and a touchdown in the Washington Redskins' 17-14 victory over the Chicago Bears.
Richard Marshall intercepted a David Carr pass with just over 1 minute left, which led to John Casey's 37-yard field goal with 30 seconds remaining to give the Carolina Panthers their first win of the season, 23-20, over the Wembley-bound San Francisco 49ers. Josh Freeman led another fourth quarter comeback, throwing a 1-yard touchdown pass to Cadillac Williams with only 10 seconds remaining to give the Tampa Bay Buccaneers an 18-17 victory over the St. Louis Rams. Kerry Collins threw 3 touchdown passes to Kenny Britt, who had the best game of his career 2 days after being involved in a bar fight, and the Tennessee Titans scored 27 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to beat the Philadelphia Eagles 37-19.
Lindo Mayer kicked 5 field goals, Matt Hasselbeck threw a 2-yard touchdown pass to Mike Williams, and the Seattle Seahawks took advantage of 5 Arizona turnovers in a 22-10 win over the Cardinals on Sunday. New San Diego Chargers kicker Chris Brown missed a 50-yard field goal attempt with 23 seconds remaining and let the New England Patriots escape with a 23-20 win over the blundering Chargers on Sunday. Brett Favre threw 3 second-half interceptions to his former team, and as the Green Bay Packers held on to beat the Minnesota Vikings 28-24 on Sunday night.
And finally, the Oakland Raiders managed a franchise-high score of 59 points as they beat the other Wembley-bound team, the Denver Broncos, 59-14, with Darren McFadden scoring heavy fantasy points for his owners this week.
So both of the Wembley-bound teams suffered losses this weekend, with the San Francisco 49ers falling to the Panthers and the Broncos losing badly in Oakland. But it's not all doom and gloom for those two Wembley-bound combatants. We have taken a look into the history and current players of the teams and have these short features on the two. Starting with Dave, who thinks the 49ers will take the win at Wembley.
Yeah, the 49ers are based in San Francisco, California, and began playing in 1946, enduring their best period of history during the 80s and early 90s, where they became their first NFL team in history to win 5 Super Bowls. The best players of that time, such as Joe Montana and Jerry Rice, all wore the red and gold of the Niners. In more recent times, the most dominant force in the Niners offense often comes from running back Frank Gore and former number 1 draft pick Alex Smith, the quarterback. In last year's draft, they selected offensive tackle Anthony Davis in an attempt to bolster their protection for Smith. So far this season, they have been disappointing after many tipped them to win the AFC West, and they are currently sitting in a 1-6 hole. What's your take on the men from Mile High then, Harry?
I'll take your Niners and raise them with the orange and blue blur that is the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are 14 years younger than the Niners, and in their time have only managed 2 Super Bowl wins since they began playing in 1960. They have 3 players in the National Football Hall of Fame: John Elway, Floyd Little and Gary Zimmerman. In recent times their success has been varied, and in 2009 they hired coach Josh McDaniels and signed Kyle Orton at quarterback, and in even more recent times have drafted strongly, picking up Georgia Tech wide receiver Demaryius Thomas and All-American Florida quarterback Tim Tebow. Tebow was a heavily hyped draft pick, partly because Denver traded 3 draft picks up just to select him. This season they've been brilliant at times and disappointing at others, sitting currently on a 2-5 record. However, there have been glimpses of brilliance from the offense, and Tim Tebow certainly looks like he will live up to the hype.
So you're taking the Broncos in this one then, Harry?
Sure am, and the 49ers pre-season form seems to have faded out as I believe the gunslinging offense of the Broncos will seal this one up.
I hope that with the 49ers being the home team, they're inspired by the Wembley crowd and they pull out the win. Last year's game, the majority of the crowd were behind the away team, the Patriots, which was disappointing for the Buccaneers, but this year I think it will be different. With the Niners being very popular back in the heyday of football in this country in the 80s, I think the Wembley faithful will get right behind San Fran. The quarterback, the first round pick, Alex Smith, he's been inconsistent this season. With him getting knocked out of yesterday's game, maybe David Carr will get the start and live in the passing attack up a bit.
One of the most interesting parts of the Wembley game is that the staff covering the game, such as statisticians and the chain crews helping the referees, are all representatives from the British game. We spoke to Adam Etheridge, who works for the NFL website inputting stats, and he explained to us how he got the role and what it involves being a member of the team at Wembley.
Come from. So it's a great marketing tool for the NFL, and it's good for us because it creates a lot of interest, a lot of buzz about the NFL in Britain. So I mean, obviously the BBC have never really covered American football until the international series came along. They started showing the Super Bowl then, and we've now got the Super Bowl on a terrestrial channel, and we have live radio broadcasts on the BBC every Sunday as well. I mean, who would have thought that was ever going to happen?
How do you feel about the plans? They're all often rumoured and nothing ever seems to be confirmed that they could end up having more than one game over here. Do you think that'll be a success, or do you think that the glitz and glam of just the one game's enough?
I personally feel that one game's enough. I think if they started doing two games, then they'd begin to dilute it. And my suspicion is, from the fact that they haven't already done it, then they're possibly thinking about not doing it. I'd say that they're quite possibly shying away from it. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, the ticket sales have been fantastic. This is the fourth game now, and the ticket sales have always been the tickets are sold out almost immediately. You know, so there's clearly the interest, but I think it would be a mistake to do more than one.
Yeah, thanks very much to Adam for his time there. It's great to see that the British game is represented so strongly off the pitch. These games are a brilliant display of American football in Britain.
We hope anyone travelling down to Wembley has a safe journey this weekend and enjoys the game and festivities down there. The Gridiron UK squad is heading down to London for the weekend to take in all the NFL excitement, including the huge rally on Trafalgar Square on Saturday with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell and other famous stars of the 49ers and Broncos teams past and present.
Yeah, we'll have a full report from the game next week, as well as other NFL and British news.
That's all we've got time for this week. As always, I've been Harry Waring.
Now I've been head analyst David Richardson.
Stay tuned to the blog all week, as we'll have more in-depth previews and articles surrounding the Wembley game all week. The address is once again gridironuk.wordpress.com. That's all lowercase. And if you've got any emails or questions for us guys in here on the podcast, email gridironuk@gmail.com. Enjoy your weekend, and don't forget that Sky will be covering the Wembley game live with BBC highlights later in the evening.